Hello, I'm Susan Woods, your self appointed Black Lives Matter investigator. Thank you for your time. We are still continuing in the series, Why Black Lives Matter Money is Hard to Follow. And we are on reason number 3, no accountability, factor 3 of 10, which is IRS reporting loopholes. 5 reasons Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow: no structure, no transparency, no accountability, no consequences, and no next steps. Those are the 5 reasons I've identified that Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. We're going to talk about reason number 3. But before we jump into reason number 3, I want to go back in time just a little bit to talk about Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation financial reports. As you may recall, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation was founded in 2013. From 2013 to 2015, they used unknown financial reporting methods. And what I mean by that, I cannot determine how they reported their finances during those years based on my research. From September 2016 through June 2020, Thousand Currents served as the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation fiscal sponsor, which meant it managed its finances and all of its administrative tasks. In July of 2020, the Tides Foundation started serving as the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation fiscal sponsor, managing its finances and administrative tasks. In December of 2020, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation earned a 501c3 status from the IRS, which meant they are now in a position to manage their own financial transactions and administrative tasks. So I'm not sure if they have relieved the Tides Network of its responsibilities or not, but I know they are in a position to do so if they choose. It's strange though, because in the beginning, the founders of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation declared that they would never be governed by the IRS or any other entity. So it's sort of strange that they chose to apply for 501c3 status, but they have it effective December 2020. Now let's talk about the IRS reporting loopholes. The IRS makes it hard to follow Black Lives Matter money, and I'm going to explain why. The administrative team for all 501c3 nonprofit organizations are supposed to file the appropriate Form 990 information return each year. Now, the Form 990 information return shows the revenues and expenses that nonprofit organizations generated and paid out the year prior. So every year, the IRS expects nonprofit organizations to submit the appropriate Form 990 information return. Now, the appropriate means the type of Form 990 an organization submits is dependent upon the amount of revenues and assets those organizations possess the year before the filing. So it depends. So that's why I have the word appropriate there. The IRS revokes 501c3 status after Form 990s are not submitted for 3 consecutive years. Therefore, the administrative team can skip the reporting requirement for 3 consecutive years if they are unscrupulous. So let me say that again. If an organization does not submit the appropriate Form 990 information return by the deadline each year for 3 consecutive years, the IRS automatically revokes the status. The organization will receive a letter that states your status has been revoked in past tense. Now, let's say that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation team knows about this rule and they simply choose not to submit the Form 990 every year for 3 years. The IRS is not going to ask them after the first year they didn't submit, where is your Form 990? They're not going to ask them the second year. They're not going to ask them the third year. Again, they're just going to send them a letter saying that you've been revoked. So if that's their plan all along, that works for them. Remember, they generated $90 million in 2020. They can choose not to file the $90 million in 2021 on a Form 990 if they choose to. So that's just something to think about. The IRS does not require nonprofits to file Form 990s after revocation. So once an organization status is revoked by the IRS is not going to go back and say, okay, we need for you to submit those Form 990s that you didn't submit for 3 consecutive years. No, they don't say that. You don't have to worry about it because in the IRS's eyes, your punishment is you don't have a status anymore. That's the punishment. You don't have a 501c3 status anymore. Therefore, you cannot generate any more revenues in a revoked status. Now, think about it this way, though. For example, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation can generate $90 million for 3 years for a total of $270 million and never report the revenues. Let that sink in. Like I said before, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation admitted to generating $90 million in 2020. But they could, and this is hypothetical, this is just an example, but let's say that they did the same thing in 2021. Let's say that they did the same thing in 2022. So that's $90 million 2020, $90 million 2021, $90 million 2022, $270 million. They don't report not 1 year. So in 2022, their status is revoked. So what? The IRS is not going to ask them to go retroactive back to file those reports. So that's $270 million that they don't have to report. That's big. The IRS then allows you to apply for 501c3 reinstatement using one of four options. There are four reinstatement options that you can choose from to apply for reinstatement for your organization to get your 501c3 status back. Most people use the fourth option, which is called the postmark date reinstatement option, because it does not require filing Form 990s. Now, I'm not going to go into the details and to describe or define all of the four options. I have a video if you want to look it up to walk you through the steps of filing a reinstatement using the four options. But most people use the easiest one because it doesn't require you to file Form 990s. All you have to do is say, Dear IRS, we're sorry. We didn't file our Form 990 information returns for 3 consecutive years. We have put in practice ways that are going to allow us to never do that again. We promise. What we would like to do, we would like to be reinstated. And we want our reinstatement letter to have the postmark date on our submission packet. In other words, the date in which we submit our packet to you, IRS, let's say September the 15th, we want our letter, our reinstatement letter, to read September the 15th. We don't care about the past. We don't care that we've been in business or operating for a few years. We don't want our date to go back to the original date. We don't care about that. We want to move forward. And when the IRS reinstates the nonprofit with that status, with that date, they're not going to ask you to prove anything. Let's just start all over with a clean slate. Start again. That's all you have to do. That's a loophole. Therefore, if the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation team chooses to reinstate 501c3 status, they get 3 new years to generate revenue without reporting until the IRS revokes the status again. So if they still have malicious intent and the IRS reinstates their 501c3 status, that's great news, isn't it? So now all they have to do is start fresh with 3 new years, and the whole process starts all over again, the same way I just described. One more thing before I let you go. The IRS is currently processing Form 990s from 2019. They are backlogged. When the pandemic hit, the IRS furloughed so many employees. So now people are coming back to work trying to get caught up on processing the Form 990s, because when they were furloughed, the Form 990s were still being submitted. So now they are backlogged. So we don't even know if the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation or its fiscal sponsors submitted Form 990s for 2020 or not. Because you see, the IRS reports or will let you see whether or not Form 990s are submitted, but they also send them out to organizations like Charity Navigator and GuideStar. They don't have the Form 990s because the IRS has not processed them yet. So we can't say if Patrice Concoolers submitted a Form 990 for 2020 or not. The due date was May 15th, 2021, but we don't know because they are still in the queue waiting to be processed. If she submitted it, we don't know. That's another major loophole. People can do whatever they want because the IRS is backlogged in processing the Form 990s. In closing, the IRS reporting loopholes make it hard to follow Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation money, and it adds to the lack of accountability. Again, we don't know if Patrice Concoolers or anyone on her team is accountable or not, because we don't know whether they submitted the Form 990 or not, because the IRS is backlogged. We are in a mess, right? You see how the IRS makes it easy for people to beat the system? You can go for 3 years, never report one dime. You get revoked. Okay, that's your punishment, but you can get reinstated and get 3 more years to do the exact same thing. Then we don't know if you're reporting or not because they're backlogged. It's sad, but it's real. This is where we are. So that's why it's hard to follow the money. That's why it's hard to hold anybody accountable. The IRS reporting loopholes. Thank you so much for your support. I started the Black Lives Matter investigations last June of 2020, and I'm ending the investigations on June 30th, 2021, in a few days. As I mentioned before, I'm going to compile all of my results from the investigations, and I'm going to put it into a report, and I'm going to send the report to the FBI and to the IRS and to other agencies that I feel may follow up on the investigative results that I share. Again, I thank you all for your support and your encouragement over this past year, and have a great day.